Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday. We now have a 3-game slate, so a little bit better than yesterday in the NBA with a 2-game slate. My name is Sal. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. I cover the NFL. I cover DFS, Daily Fantasy Sports, and the NFL, what is right now the NBA playoffs, the NBA, a little bit of the MLB, but now I'm actually getting into golf a little bit more. Personally, actually enjoy the sport of golf and playing DFS for the first time, having a very successful weekend during the Masters. I want to keep going, and I actually enjoy the little 4-day sweat you get with a golf tournament, so it should be fun. This weekend's the Heritage. I'm going to do a video right after this, so if you're interested in golf at all or you do like golf, I will be producing content, and I will also make a quick little DFS 101 golf type of guide where I'll just throw a bunch of nuggets in there in terms of, look, I'm not an expert, but I do listen to a lot of the experts, and I do know what I'm doing in terms of being able to build a golf sheet. So just stats that matter, things to look at, overall what to research, things like that. So I'll do that maybe today as well. That would be 3 videos today, but you're here for the NBA. I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Look, 3-game slate, a little bit better than a 2-game slate. Wild yesterday. I ended up getting Embiid last second, and as has been happening for a while with this new DFS or this new Draftkings dashboard update on their lineups page, there was another outage with 5 minutes left, and that's not great when Embiid, the highest priced player on the slate, you can't change your lineup. So ended up profiting, but if you didn't profit last night and you couldn't change your lineups, make sure to email Draftkings. Be nice about it. Don't be like, hey, you stole my money, because then they're going to be more reluctant to get back to you sooner. But just be nice about it, and you'll get your fees back. So, yeah, last night was pretty cool, pretty nice. Ended up paying off well when you have Simmons and Lou Will yesterday. I even had Ed Davis at 3 points, and I still cashed and everything. So that's what happens on a 3-game slate when you have two of the highest scores, the 2 highest scores in Simmons and Lou Will. Didn't have Curry, didn't have KD or any guys like that. Having Ed Davis still didn't hurt. You just had to have those other pieces. So we're here with a 3-game slate, and look, we're at a point now where the injury news really isn't happening as much. Like, if you're not playing 76ers and waiting on Embiid news, and you're not, as of right now, and we're going to get into it, DeMarcus Cousins with the Warriors, waiting on who starts there and gets more 5 minutes and how it affects the rest of the team, i.e. Steph Curry, i.e. Draymond / Durant / Looney. It's pretty straightforward. So the only injury news we have today, and before we get into this, I just want to say tons of free stuff here. There's things down below. A lot of more people are watching these videos because of the playoffs. It's just better atmosphere, more competitive. So hit me with a thumbs up if you can. Doing this as a hobby, side hustle, but really want to turn it into a career if you're new here. So thank you for being here. I appreciate all the support in the world. Drop down below in the comments section and let me know, how many games do you think this OKC Portland series is going to go to? Let me know that down below in the comments. I want to know what you guys think. I personally think it's going to go the distance with 7, but I want to see what everybody else thinks. So only injuries today really don't matter. They're literally min-priced guys. Patrick McCaw is questionable. He's been playing in the teens during the regular season. A lot of guys get veered out of the rotation when the playoffs come. We're seeing that just starters minutes are getting bumped up closer to 40s. We saw Siakam, I think, played 42 in the last one. So McCaw, even if he plays, I don't really think it matters. If anything, it's just going to split up the time for guys in the back in terms of just your splits between a Fred VanVleet and a Danny Green, who are both seeing close to 30 plus minutes. You already have OG Anunoby out. He's supposed to be out potentially till the Eastern Conference Finals if Toronto makes it there. You have Jeremy Lin, who was just a DNP CD, coach's decision, didn't play in the last game. It's the playoffs, so guys that you don't normally need or rely on won't play that much. If Patrick McCaw plays, it's like 10 minutes, so we don't have to spend too much time there. Diallo, he's the sensational, I believe, rookie or second-year player. Was in the dunk contest. Look, he doesn't matter either. He hasn't been on this court in a while. And then I just put Boogie Cousins here. He's not playing today, but he's supposed to be out. And all it said was a while. So that's scary if you're a Warriors fan. I mean, you're still probably the favorite in this entire thing. He was only playing 26 minutes a game. They saved him for the playoffs, and then he goes out, ironic enough, and gets injured in the second game. So we'll have to keep an eye on that when next time the Warriors play, see if we get any updates. But that's it. No real injury news here, which is nice compared to the end of the year when we had 58 guys, 60 guys on this list. Now we pretty much have 0 that matter. So let's just get into this 3-game slate. Target offense sheet. If you want this target offense sheet, it is in the Discord. So once again, the Discord is like a group texting platform that we have about 400 people in there. And don't worry, it's not like, oh, this is nonstop. You can put it on silent. You can just look when you want. You can get advice from me, from other people. Just at Sal in there, and that's how I'll get it on my phone. It'll be a notification. Otherwise, I don't usually get a ton of notifications. Otherwise, I'd have like 1,000 plus a day. So, yeah, hop in there. It's totally free. The Discord target offense sheet will be in there. I'm making a target offense sheet, or I have one done already for golf. Some other little fine tuning I have to do. That's also going to be up on Patreon. And if you want projections for the NBA, I have full projections. They're going to be updated come up until lock with any injury news. Again, they're nice to have, especially for the NBA, the most projectable sport. So check those out on Patreon. If you want to support me, there's a donation link down below. Appreciate anything that you guys can do. So yeah, target offense sheet. 6 teams today, 3 games. And there's just one that stands out far and away as the best game on the slate. And we'll start there. It is the last game on the slate, Portland and OKC. Tons of things just stand out here in terms of it being the best game. I mean, we could start with the fact that both teams' implied team totals are pretty much the highest on the slate. You get Portland, they're 2-point favorite here at home, 112 team total. You get OKC, 2-point underdog them, 110 team total, highest total on the slate by pretty much 11 points, 222. This is the game to target here. It's pretty obvious. The pace is 104.51. Big pace up spot for Portland. They're going to gain about 3 possessions here. Slight pace down spot for OKC, but nothing too concerning. Less than a possession, less than their season average. You can just compare this across the board. It's the closest game by far. 7-point spread is the next closest. This is a 2-point spread. It has projected 4 more possessions per team, which then is going to result in a projection total of 11 more points in this game than the other 2. This is the spot on a 3-game slate you want to game stack more. Look, the pieces to game stack here are expensive. It's going to be Russell Westbrook, high up there. It's going to be Paul George, high up there in price. Damian Lillard, not that high up there as he should be. I think he's only 8,700 still. CJ McCollum, still not where he should be. 5,800 was dirt cheap in the last one. I think he's still too cheap. And his Cantor against his former team balled out in the last game, right? Almost had a 20-20 game, went for 50-plus fantasy points. He's 7K, I believe. That's cheap. There's other pieces you can get in this game. Dennis Schroeder was playing over 30s in minutes the last time out. I think he was playing in the mid-30s. You're going to have Jeremy Grant continuing to play in the mid-30s. If you want Steven Adams, he's in the mid-30s. Pretty much the thing to note here is that OKC went with I believe just a 6-person bench for the most part, or a 6 or 7-man rotation for the most part. It was heavy with 6 players. You had Russell Westbrook. He played 38 minutes, I believe, but he had to come out because of foul trouble for 5 of those. I have Russell Westbrook and Paul George both projected for 40 minutes today, and 40 minutes might be too little. They might both get 42 today. Paul George got 42 in the last one, and Russell Westbrook got 38, and he had to sit out for about 5 or 6 minutes that he would have been on the court for, I'd imagine, at least half of those. So my projection of 40 minutes might actually get bumped up for a minute or 2 for each of them. They're down 0-1. They're going to be playing a ton of minutes in the playoffs. It matters here. And Westbrook, he can go out and play 48 minutes a game and he'd be completely fine. I mean, maybe not long term if he does that, but in this series he could do it. He's just an absolute robot. You have Jeremy Grant, who saw 35 minutes. Like I said, Schroeder off the bench saw 35 minutes. I don't know if you continue to see that. But I think Raymond Felton checked back in for Westbrook once he got in foul trouble. Felton saw 5 minutes that didn't really matter, and I don't think he gets those if Westbrook doesn't get in foul trouble late in that game. So OKC, they're running pretty much 6 deep with their starters. Terrence Ferguson only got pushed down. He got pushed down out of the high 20s to 16 minutes. Markieff Morris got pushed down to the high teens to around the mid-teens. They have no interest in running anybody else out there for the most part outside of their main 6. And I could be wrong there. There might be a 7th. Let's just quickly look at it for the heck of it. Yeah, I mean, it was Westbrook and Paul George, so pretty much close to the 40. These guys saw mid-30s. Schroeder even saw mid-30s. And that is their top 5. And then, so really, they ran pretty much a 5-man rotation because Ferguson only saw 16 minutes, and then the rest just got split up between 4 guys. So their starters were out there for 85% of the game. So yeah, it's nice when you can get a whole team, and they're going to be priced appropriately because of that. I mean, you could still get a Schroeder at 5,300. You could still get a Jeremy Grant at 5,400. Don't know if Schroeder actually started the last game, but Ferguson only played 16 minutes. So in terms of picking this game to stack, yeah, the starters are the spot that you want to go to. On the other side of the ball with Portland, you're going to get McCollum, you're going to get Cantor, you're going to get Lillard. Those are the 3 big ones. If I had to rank them, I mean, you have to factor in price and all those things. It's probably number 1, Damian Lillard, 8,700 is too cheap for him. Number 2, CJ McCollum. I think he's only in the low 6K range now, still too cheap. And Cantor is 3. But all those guys, I mean, based on their price points, are all really 1A, 1B, 1C to me. It's going to be hard to distinguish. It's going to come down to how I build my lineups. Cantor being only center eligible. Can I get there? Will I want to get there? I'll have to look what else is on the slate because we have a lot of centers on the slate once again with Jokic, with Vooch. Vooch priced down a decent amount. You have the Toronto centers if you want to take a dart there. So Portland, there's other pieces here. We saw Aminu. He played mid-30s in minutes, and he's just absolute dust. He only scored 23 fantasy points, so even if he gets big minutes, you can't really rely on him, but you do like the big minutes. Mo Harkless got pushed down to 22 minutes. A lot of guys got pushed into the teens that just really didn't matter to this team. You had Zach Collins only playing 18 minutes behind Cantor, who played big minutes, got some minutes at the 4 for Collins. Yeah, there wasn't a lot here. Jake Layman didn't even play in the game. Seth Curry, Rodney Hood saw in the teens, nothing that actually matters. So they pretty much ran as well. Portland here, we can go to them. They pretty much ran pretty heavy with their starters. All their starters, for the most part, besides Harkless, splitting time up with everybody else who was out there. Evan Turner, Seth Curry, Rodney Hood. The starters were the ones that saw the significant minutes, anything in the mid to upper 20s, where it actually starts to matter for fantasy. This is the game I'd stack. This is the game I'd focus on. Obviously, there's 2 more games on the slate, and you can pull pieces from there. But the one that has the highest pace by far and the highest total by far, where you could rely on all the starters' minutes, and you can get a lot of them in because they're priced in the 5K range or the 6K range. Yeah, you're going to have to pull some really value pieces from these other spots, but I think you can manage. So by far and away on a 3-game slate, how I would approach it, at least how I'm thinking about approaching it right now, right? I haven't built a lineup, so I don't know what construction looks like. Is it even possible to get 2 of those high guys in my lineup on this slate? I don't know what salaries are looking like overall. So, Toronto and Orlando. Orlando upset Toronto in the first one. You had the DJ Augustine big clutch shot, the 3-pointer. Toronto is now a 10-point favorite still. I mean, they're the favorites in this series. Orlando came out and played great, and they matched up really well against them. I mean, 2 teams that play good defense, 2 teams that have some pretty big centers and power forwards and even small forwards with Aaron Gordon and Kawhi Leonard. So 2 pretty good matchups here, 2 pretty good teams. We get 110.75 team implied total for Toronto, second highest on the slate, pretty much a virtual tie with OKC. You get 100.75 tied with San Antonio for the lowest total on the slate in Orlando, 211.5 overall total. You're going to get 2 less possessions than the league average here with 104.1 at least projected. So let's look at it. You have Orlando, who, I mean, on this slate in general, you have some really good rebounding teams. You're going to get that to knock down a little bit. It's going to be a little bit skewed, the fact that Yusuf Nurkic is not on Portland and you have Enes Kanter there. But Kanter, for the most part, he can rebound. He just can't play defense. So you have Orlando being the worst rebounding team, but they're at league average. So you get a lot of good rebounding teams here, so there's nothing really to break down into there. Toronto and Orlando. It's the playoffs, so I mentioned it with Portland and OKC. The minutes are going to get shored up here. So even if Patrick McCaw plays, I don't think it really matters. They didn't even dress Jeremy Lin. The biggest thing is people making fun of Kyle Lowry and all this because he didn't score a point and because in the playoffs he's not the same guy or whatever it might be. Kyle Lowry's $6,500. Kyle Lowry didn't score a point. You're right. He missed free throws even. He didn't score a point in that last game, and he still came away with like 25 fantasy points. Imagine if he just scores 10 points. Which is by far not out of the question for a starting point guard of his caliber. That is probably more so the strong favorite of him at scoring 10 points. So he got the peripherals in this game. The best overall matchup for Orlando or for Toronto in this series is probably Kyle Lowry against DJ Augustine in terms of just defenders. So yeah, I like Kyle Lowry here at 6,500. What happened last night? People overreacted in the first game where Ben Simmons didn't play well, and he ended up being the second highest scoring player on the slate behind Lou Williams. He played extremely well. People are going to overreact to Kyle Lowry, and they're really not going to break down into it and see, wow, this guy actually had, at 6,500 for 25 fantasy points, he didn't kill you, especially when he didn't score any real points. He scores 10 real points, like I said, and he's crushing at 6,500. I have interest there. I just have to see, once again, do I end up getting there in the lineup based on who I'm trying to get to in that Portland OKC game. But I have interest in Kyle Lowry. When everybody else is running and making fun of it and scared of it, I'm going to go right back to it because I highly doubt Kyle Lowry, that was a weird combination of words, highly doubt he only scores 0 points once again tonight. So I have interest there. Siakam played great, 42 minutes. If he's going to get big minutes like that, I'm going to have interest there at his price, although it's just not a great matchup. Marc Gasol played bigger minutes. You saw Serge Ibaka sort of wind down only to 19. Gasol in the mid or to lower 30s. That's still fine at his price point in the 5K range. I do actually like that a good amount. So for me, it is Kyle Lowry is probably my favorite play from Toronto based on price, based on the fact that people are going to stay away from him. And then it's probably Pascal Siakam. Don't really have any interest in Kawhi Leonard, although what is his price actually? Did it get into the 8K range? Kawhi Leonard's 8,100, so I don't have a ton of interest there just based on the fact where he is. I could save $1,000 and go to Siakam. The fact that Siakam's only $100 more than Enes Kanter kind of hurts. I'd rather have the center playing OKC in a faster paced game and a better game environment overall. So we'll have to see how it pans out. But really not going to get to much on the Toronto side outside of maybe Kawhi Leonard. Orlando side of the ball, you got Vooch at 8,200. I don't think Vooch has been this cheap all year. I get it. It's a 3-game slate. It's the playoffs. His matchup is dreadful. Vooch at 8,200 has to catch your eye. This is a guy who is now priced below his season average by a good amount. His season average is 46 points a game. Look, he doesn't play Toronto every game. And they kept him in great check. Like, this Orlando team scored 104 points. They won the game. And Vooch scored 11 points and had 8 rebounds. I don't even know when the last time Vooch didn't just absolutely go off in the game was. Like, at least having 27, I guess, was right here. That was bad, but he played 32 minutes. Okay, so that's fair. This is another place where people are going to overreact. They're going to see Vooch only put up 27 points. It's still a tough matchup. I don't love it at all. But $8,200 Vooch is very capable of not hurting you here. 40 points is the low end normally for Vooch. And you get that today, he pretty much is fine for you. And you get that on a 3-game slate, it's nice. So I do have interest in Vooch at that price. DJ Augustine draws slight interest for me, but Kyle Lowry's not the greatest of matchups for him. Should be out there for around 30 minutes. Michael Carter-Williams came out of the game with like a nosebleed. He had his stuffed tissues up there. He seems like he's all good to go. Nothing really major there. Just something started bleeding during the game. So the Toronto-Orlando game, I mean, it shouldn't really attract you. It's not attracting me. Slower pace, the biggest spread in the slate, 211 total compared to this other one. Like I said, I want to target the places that people are going to overreact and leave players under-owned. That's Vooch at 8,200. The price is dipped down. Tough matchup. It's extremely tough. But he had his worst performance by far in the last game. People are going to get stuck on that. Kyle Lowry, 6,500, who had a good game outside of not scoring, right? In terms of fantasy, he had a ton of peripherals to get you to 25 points. I'll be fine going back to the well with that. But overall, this is not the spot I want to target. This game can very easily get out of hand quickly, and you might not see anybody in the fourth quarter. Denver, San Antonio. So what we got here is the slowest pace game on the slate, 98.11. Both of these teams play slow. They both play below the league average, and both of them are going to be in a pace down spot. This is 4 possessions per team below the league average, not attractive. 7-point spread. Denver is favored by 7. 208.5 implied total in this game. Denver has 107.75 team total. San Antonio, 100.75 tied for the last with Orlando. So the two lowest totals in terms of their combination, obviously based on the game total in this game. The slowest pace, not a ton here to really like. Pricing, you can get to some places, and I will hit on those. So starting with the Denver side, this is where you're going to get some of the nicer pricing on some players. Once again, you have guys playing huge minutes here. You're getting Jokic playing mid to upper 30s in minutes, which during the regular season we rarely saw, especially after the All-Star break when it was tough if he cracked 33, 34. He's been playing 35, 36, 37. That's something to be interested. That's something to keep an eye on. I do like that. But the places I want to target are some of these other guys. You get Paul Millsap, played 34 minutes in the last one. I like that at his price point. I think he's only $5,400. It's hard not to like that. He's going to be going up against LaMarcus Aldridge. That's something I don't like. But at $5,400 for a power forward that's going to be getting big minutes, I do like it. I'm fine going there. And then Denver is just filled with good value. You have Gary Harris, who played upper 30s in minutes. Yeah, he's not fantastic, but if he's going to play 37 minutes and he is priced below, I still believe 4K. Now let's just double check this. Okay, he's priced at 4,500, which is still fine on a slate where there's not really any value. And let's just click on these two teams. Yeah, I do like that. The other guy that I like for only $200 more, his teammate Will Barton, also has been seeing low 30s in minutes after not seeing anywhere above 23 for a while. He's fine. Those are the two value guys from this team that I like. You have Gary Harris at 4,500 playing upper 30s in minutes. Will Barton touching the 30s in minutes at 4,700. You can go to the other pieces. You can go to the Jamal Murrays. I probably favor Kyle Lowry there. I probably favor just guys like CJ McCollum from this other game, the Portland OKC game. So for me, it's those two value pieces. It's Jokic. And a lot of the starters, just 4 of the 5 starters I have interest in here. Just don't want to get too many pieces of this game. I'm fine pulling 1 or 2. I'm going to imagine it's hard to get to Jokic. I'm going to imagine getting to Jokic is a very contrarian play on this slate, because if you get to Jokic, you're probably giving up between 1 and 3, probably 2 of a Paul George, a Russell Westbrook, and a Damian Lillard. But even Enes Kanter, you're probably giving up something in there. So you might be giving up 3 of those because you get a Jokic at the price of $9,200. So, when you have Jokic being the second highest price guy in the slate, it's a little tougher to get to. Paul George only $9K. That's extremely interesting. So that's where I'm going with the Denver side. I think that's where your value is on this slate. In this game, I think it's where all the value is. You go to the San Antonio side. $7,500 LaMarcus Aldridge, that's tough to pass up. That range is going to determine this slate, I believe. You have $7,400 LaMarcus Aldridge. You have $7,100 Pascal Siakam. $7K, you have Enes Kanter. You're going to have Aaron Gordon around that range. So I think that that's going to be the determining factor of this slate. He's going up against a terrible matchup. They held him in check in the last game. You have Jokic, you have Paul Millsap going to be out there for 35 minutes, probably all of LaMarcus Aldridge's minutes. And when he gets a break, you have Mason Plumlee coming in, who is just as fine of a defender and has the same length. So 7,400, I do have interest there. No real interest for me in DeMar DeRozan. He's going to be probably one of the lowest owned players on this slate relative to his price. So if you want to go super contrarian, you can go there. I just think there's a ton of better options, especially out of this game. I already said in terms of paying up, I really want to prioritize the last game on the slate, Portland and OKC. San Antonio, other one, Jakob Poeltl. Like I mentioned on the last time that these teams played, the first game of the series, I said I don't think Rudy Gay is going to start, which hurts Rudy Gay, pretty much makes him almost unplayable for me. I think Jakob Poeltl is going to start. And look, he has a absolutely tough matchup if he does start, but they need the length. He played 24 minutes, which is around when he starts. He plays 24, 25 minutes, and he's still below 4K. So in terms of the value, San Antonio probably has the best value play on the slate in a vacuum, right? Jakob Poeltl below 4K. He's a center, tough matchup overall, but it's a 3-game slate. He's going to play 24 minutes, so yada, yada, yada. If he gets you 20 to 25 points, you kind of take that below 4K. But again, I don't know. He's center eligible. He takes up your center spot or your utility spot. Then I don't know how that affects the slate in terms of then you can only get one of Kanter, Vooch, Jokic, Marcus Gasol. So keep an eye on that. So that's it, really. I spent the most time on Portland and OKC for a reason. That's where I want to target. You're going to get the most stable minutes out of those guys, tightest cores, and the best pay-up spots, in my opinion. But don't sleep on the guys who struggled in their first game and are still elite players, and people are going to take that one-game sample into account. Some of them are still very tough matchups. I mean, the ones that I'm focusing on in terms of guys who struggled in their first games, and I think just like Ben Simmons are in fantastic spots, just in terms of being lower owned and their price points. Kyle Lowry at $6,500, he's not scoring zero again. Vooch at $8,200 still has a insanely tough matchup, but that man can win that more than 50% of the time, I'd say. Or right around 50% of the time against Gasol. And then LaMarcus Aldridge against this big Denver team. I don't think, however many games, if this goes 4, 5, 6, 7 game series, I don't think every single game in this series will be dominated in terms of keeping Marc Gasol down. So let's go to early interest quick, and then I'm going to do the golf video. So I listed a bunch of guys here, and it's pretty much what I just said, right? You can go through, you can look at it. I'll briefly go down it. It's in order of salary. You can get my projections again if you want to see the projected points and some other things. Westbrook, Paul George, Lillard, all from that game. They're the pay-up options. You could also go to Enes Kanter at $7K. I think that's smart. Vooch, $8,200, LaMarcus Aldridge, $7,400, and then Kyle Lowry, $6,500. Those are the bounce-back guys that I talked about. I think they're all too cheap. Their matchups are tough. That's already built into their price. And I like Aldridge a little bit more than Vooch, mainly because you save $800 and he's power forward eligible. You can just get him in your lineup in 2 more spots. Paul Millsap, $5,700. Thought he was $5,400. $5,700 I still think is a fine price point. Look, I'm not trying to get too many pieces of this Denver game. So 1 or 2 guys from this Denver-San Antonio game is probably the way that I'll be going. I'm fine getting to Paul Millsap if I do get there. Aminu, I could probably take Aminu off this list. He played 35 minutes and he played terribly. I'd imagine he plays in the 30s again, but getting that many minutes in the fastest-paced game is something to at least point out when you're below 5K. Will Barton and Gary Harris, I do like them at $4,700 and $4,500 respectively from that Denver team. You're going to get decent minutes out of both of them. Will Barton, the more productive player, getting less minutes, so it kind of balances out. In terms of what their value is, I have Barton at 5.9xing, and I have Gary Harris at 6.02xing, and that's taking price into account. So Danny Green, $4,400, played big minutes in the last one. Look, he's a veteran there in the playoffs. He played 34 minutes. Fred VanVleet only saw 27. I imagine that stays the same. $4,400, that's a place to target as well. And then Jakob Poeltl, $3,800, probably the best viable guy below 4K, if not the only viable guy below 4K on this slate in terms of going to be able to see 20-plus minutes. I don't think there's anybody else below 4K, unless I miss somebody, that's going to see 20-plus minutes. If Jakob Poeltl starts, I imagine at a minimum he plays 22 minutes with the upside and more realistically towards 24, 25. So that's it. That's this 3-game slate. We're probably going to get a good amount of views today, so I appreciate it. Before you leave, you can hit the thumbs up. How many games do you think this OKC versus Portland series is going to go? And who do you think wins it? So thank you. My name's Sal. Check out the golf video that should be up shortly after. Peace out, gang.